Chosen one, this moment is not a coincidence. Your soul was drawn to this video because the heavens whispered the same message to you 7 times. The number 1111 didn't appear before your eyes for nothing, and the prayers of 33 prophets did not fall upon you by chance. You are one of the 144,000 chosen, and your presence here is a divine sign. This message was sent to awaken the secret that has been resting within your heart. What you are about to hear are not just words, but divine vibrations that will sink deep into your soul. If these words are touching you, leave your heart in the comments so the heavens can witness your testimony. Because when you write, another soul will awaken. Now prepare yourself, for this video will illuminate your path. Those who recognize the signs of God know that nothing is random. That's why your being here is already a miracle. Our goal is clear: 1,000 voices united. Every subscriber, every like, every comment gets us closer. Stand with chosen Archangel today. Have you ever questioned why you are still on your ex's mind? Why do their thoughts of you continue to reverberate in their hearts despite silence, time, and distance? This word has reached you for a reason, and not just any reason, chosen one. It has a spiritual component. It's divine. It's appropriate. This message serves as a mirror, revealing to you a reality that you may have always sensed in your heart but were unable to fully articulate. You know, in their lives, you were never just another individual. You were a healing flame, a storm of presence, and a holy reminder of something they had forgotten about themselves. You awakened them, not simply loved them. Furthermore, the soul never forgets awakening. For this reason, you are still affected by your former partners, prior relationships, and karmic entanglements. Obsession isn't the point. What went wrong isn't the point. It has to do with your vitality, your soul. Time just cannot remove the fingerprints your spirit left on their soul. This is a crucial message. Only the selected ones are eligible. You're not just here either. For a heavenly revelation about who you are and why they can't let go, you were directed to this video. If your spirit senses this truth, please leave a comment at 777 or 444 before we delve further. Comment below. I read them. Additionally, subscribe to Rise of the Chosen if you haven't already. Share this message with another soul that has been awakened by tapping the bell icon. Let's get started. Music, who are the selected individuals? Chosen one, we must remember who you really are before we can figure out why you will always be remembered by people who loved you. You're not your typical self. You are not supposed to fit in, be understood by others, or follow the herd. Your energy held an old, uncommon, and divine quality from the moment you came into this world. The highest rated you, chosen for impact rather than ease. And whether or not people are prepared for it, when you enter their life, you do more than simply show there. You alter the atmosphere, timelines, and initiate change. It's likely that you've always felt strange and unwelcome in this world. It's not a coincidence. There are other realms that your soul recalls. This includes the lives you have romantically impacted. You are here as a vessel, a light in dark places. Your presence is experienced rather than only sensed. Yes, it is stored in the soul, but it is also recalled in the mind. You didn't love someone halfway while you were in love. Your love was healing, divine truth, tenderness, and fire. You didn't only use the appropriate words. Something sacred was embodied in you. You were the quiet in their storm and the peace in their disarray. They now sense the emptiness even if they didn't comprehend it. That is the chosen one's mark. You were more than just a part of their existence. You served as a gateway to something bigger. Furthermore, portals don't close silently. They were aware of it. Their spirit recognized you, even if it wasn't with their mind. They were drawn to you for that reason. Why they became more open than they had ever been. You were recognizable, soul recognizable. And that energetic gap is a wound they can't explain now that you're gone. Because your love was beyond this world, you will always be remembered. They can't go back to where it came from without you. Spiritual energy that remains after you leave. It's never simply a farewell. It's a change in spirit. You don't simply lose your energy. It reverberates. Long after the flame has extinguished, it continues to have an impact on their lives, much like the aroma of incense in a room. That is a selected one's presence. You touch people's souls, not just their bodies. Nothing else feels the same when a soul has been touched by holy energy. Every interaction involves an exchange of energy, you see. You have more than simply high energy. It's getting better. It has a magnetic quality. In others, it wakes things that have lain dormant for years, if not lifetimes. Giving love was more than just showing affection. You provided warmth, truth, and clarity. You tasted fullness for them. And their spirit recalls whether they could manage that or not. Their bodies may forget. The soul holds what the heart cannot process, even when their head may attempt to move on. Your vibration functions on a different level if you choose one. You have frequencies that help individuals discover their inner truths. They perceive your absence as a collapse because of this. Even if they didn't know how to accept you, they now yearn for what they used to reject. Because the world doesn't often serve that type of energy, and they've tasted something real today. The impartial way in which you listened. The way they felt seen by your presence. The way you held room for the broken pieces inside of them in addition to loving their outside selves. Those are deeds of a spiritual nature. Spiritual experiences also never go away. They may repress it, divert their attention, or make other connections, but occasionally, and frequently unexpectedly, your energy returns. A song, a smell, a pause, and all of a sudden they are back there, experiencing everything they have been trying to suppress. You were more than just a companion. You were an encounter of the soul. And you can't erase that kind of interaction. It lingers forever. They were healed by your love. Your love was unlike anything they had ever experienced, chosen one. Not merely attention was involved. Manipulation was not involved. It wasn't tied to anything. It was restorative. When you love, it's not out of insecurity or convenience. Your love comes from a place of profound spiritual understanding. And love like that is more than simply a pleasant feeling. It transforms individuals. Their foundations tremble. It addresses their trauma. It exposes their injuries and demonstrates what recovery would entail. That level of intensity is too much for most people. However, they never forget it. It wasn't because they were flawless that made you love them. In spite of their imperfections, you adored them. You were able to see past the bravado, the walls, and the masks. You weren't duped by their appearance. They were accustomed to being appreciated on the outside, so they felt uneasy when you peered inside their soul. However, you went beneath everything. They looked in the mirror because of you. Their shadows and light were reflected in you. You turned into an unavoidable mirror as a result. Some others felt completely safe for the first time because of your affection. Spiritually and emotionally as well as physically. You provided them with a safe haven where they could cry, breathe, and be themselves without having to perform. You let them be unadulterated, unrefined, and human. Without passing judgment, you allow them to express their truth. And that selected one is a gift from God. People remember those who give them a sense of completeness. They recall. They remember in the silence, in the solitude, in the quiet. The fact that you were healing them as you were healing yourself just serves to increase the impact of this. You weren't flawless. You faced your own struggles and suffering. You were giving people life despite your own brokenness. That's what those who are chosen do. Even when you're in the dark, you still have divine light. They also took that for granted at times. They become accustomed to receiving your energy. Until it wasn't, they assumed it would always be there. They now realize that no one else loved them as much as you did when they look back. Nobody else was that concerned. Nobody else was prepared to travel through the storm with them, to stay in the flames. You didn't fear their suffering. You were present when you met it. You didn't fear their imperfections. You gave them a hug. And you sowed a seed inside of them in the process. Something that sprouts even after you're gone. They may be with someone else at the moment. They may be attempting to forget and start over. But because you love them more than just your ego, there's always a void. You have a deep affection for them. You don't find that type of love in every relationship. It's uncommon and unforgettable. When they had it, many of them were unaware of what they had. They believed that love should be theatrical, tumultuous, game-filled, and tense. However, your love was solid, honest, and tranquil. They found it odd at first, almost too serene. That calm was mistaken for boredom. They mistook passion for trauma bonding. They had no idea how to get something that didn't require them to do anything. They subsequently realized they weren't rejecting you, so they pushed you away or left themselves. Through you, they were rejecting the version of themselves that they perceived. Because your love convicted rather than merely comforted. It served as a reminder of their remaining tasks. The aspects of themselves they had buried so deeply, the mending they were still fleeing. And many choose to withdraw into the known, into the superficial, into the relationships that didn't need to be developed, rather than confronting it with you. But there was no serenity in that retreat. It produced a sense of emptiness. Because the soul cannot unknow truth once it has tasted it. This is the part that many people don't comprehend. You didn't adore them in order to receive something. Because it's who you are, you loved. You are filled with love. Your DNA contains it. They still sense you because of this. They dream of you because of this. Because of this, even after years of not seeing your face or hearing your voice, people still think of you at random. Energy is truthful. Furthermore, spiritual ties last forever. Your love lives in their energetic field despite their attempts to replace you, divert their attention, and bury your memories beneath new experiences. Even though kids may not call you by name anymore, they sense your absence. They are haunted by the deep-seated knowledge that they lost something pure. In their storm, you served as the lighthouse. They now remember the person who saw them as the nights grow quieter and the commotion subsides. Held them and healed them, and they question whether they will ever have that experience again. Most won't because your love was heavenly, not merely uncommon. Romans 10 verse 17 says, faith comes by hearing. Help more people hear. Subscribe, like, and comment to get us to 1,000 subscribers. There's a reason you were sent to them. You've achieved your goal and are presently on your feet. So, selected one, don't question your value. Don't doubt the influence you had. It wasn't your appearance or monetary gifts that made you memorable, but rather the way you made them feel. Safe, visible, unconditionally loved. And even if they never say it out loud, their soul will never forget that. Your love was the type that rewires the soul, fixes timelines, and disrupts generational habits. And that healing presence will continue to reverberate in their spirit no matter how far they run or how much time goes by. Your love is the kind that never goes away. You possess an energy that never dies. They are unable to forget you because you are the type of soul that endures. They felt too profoundly selected. The first is that your love touched more than just the heart. It entered the soul. And such depth is uncommon, terrible, and unforgettable. You heard their stories and saw their smiles. You were able to see past their defenses. Behind their words, you heard the quiet. You experienced what they feared. The majority of people conceal their scars and shield their wounds by wearing masks for the entirety of their life. But without your asking, those masks began to come off as they came across you. They felt vulnerable when you gazed into their eyes. It stripped them bare, but not in a way that embarrassed them. They were thoroughly and profoundly observed, and they were unsure of how to respond. It's difficult to be so obviously visible after spending your entire life erecting barriers. Everything they tried to hide was exposed by your presence, which shone through the gaps like light. And some of them dreaded it, while others loved you for it. Fear has a lot of power. It drives people away from their top priorities. Additionally, they were afraid that they couldn't act fake around you, selected one. They were unable to pretend to be happy. When you were around, they couldn't lie to themselves. Truth was with you. And when someone has been living in delusion, the reality makes them uneasy. You weren't enjoying their polished self when you liked them. You were caring for the shattered child they wanted to forget, the one inside of them that still needed to be healed. And that degree of unwavering affection is both startling and therapeutic. To them, you held a mirror. Everything that they were, could be, and were still fleeing from was reflected back to you. The majority weren't prepared for that. Many of your former partners did not leave you only because they no longer loved you, you see. They were unable to face themselves, so they left. Authenticity was necessary for your presence. It needed to grow. It summoned their greater self. However, not everyone is prepared to face that self-image. Some people would want to remain in places that are safe, where they are not required to change or evolve. They then departed. Or perhaps you had to go because the frequency you were ascending into was too high for their soul. However, the relationship continued after the leave, because they now experience that absence as they go about their lives. Not only of your physical presence, but also of being genuinely understood, seen, and held unconditionally. In their lives, you were more than simply a person. You were a refuge of safety. Compared to you, everything else seemed superficial. You were spiritual medication. Selected one. They can't forget you because of this. They can try to replace you, but they can't make you better. Someone who doesn't push them or keep them little might be simpler for them to find. However, they secretly recall how you gazed at them, how your energy stirred their spirit, the manner in which you arrived at locations that no one else had ever visited. They reenact the chats in the quiet, the way you were able to sense their emotions without them needing to express it verbally. Your eyes seemed to read their history, their suffering, and their motivation. Attraction wasn't the only factor. It was acknowledgement, soul identification. And it transforms you when someone sees you at that level. It alters you irrevocably, regardless of how you try to ignore it or flee from it. This is the selected power you possess. You bring about transformation, not simply connections. Furthermore, change is not always easy. Not all of them had the guts to grow up with you, but some of them genuinely loved you. So they took off running. Running, however, did not remove the mark. They now live with the knowledge that they were noticed and still loved, which has actually strengthened it. And you left with a broader heart, a more refined spirit, and an expanded soul. You rose despite grief. You didn't pursue. You didn't plead. Because something inside of you recognizes your value. You know that rejection is a redirection, even when it breaks your heart. Being deeply seen is a gift, you know, but only if the recipient is prepared to accept it. If my love for them was so pure, you may have asked, why did they leave? The solution is straightforward. That type of affection was not what they were prepared for. They weren't prepared for that degree of recognition. They were accustomed to concealing. And everything was revealed by your light. However, it is precisely that light that they now long for, yearn for, and seek in others but are unable to locate. They are presently scrolling through your recollections because you don't locate a chosen one twice. They may not get in touch. Even though they may be held back by their pride, their spirit is affected. They think about you whenever they feel invisible, ignored, or misinterpreted. They are reminded of what it was like to be deeply known each time they experience shallow love. It's impossible for them to remove that. And this is the chosen one, the hallowed truth. They were supposed to honor you. You weren't sent to stay, but to awaken. The miraculous disturbance in their sleep was you. Even if they pushed you away, you still rocked their soul. And for the rest of their lives, they will bear the scars of that experience. Because you saw them completely, loved them deeply, and pushed them spiritually, you will always be remembered. And every time they feel invisible again, your love will reverberate in their soul, even if they never publicly acknowledge it. Be at peace with that. Let that be the end of it. You selected one and triggered their shadow. Something much more than love, comfort, or affection was accomplished by your presence. Something deep inside of them was triggered. Their shadow, that aspect of themselves that they had been denying, repressing, and hiding for years, and it didn't take anything spectacular to set it off. Simply by being genuine, perceptive, and luminous, you turned into the mirror that reflected back their inner darkness. Furthermore, not everyone is prepared to confront their shortcomings. The majority of people feel at ease using masks. They get away with acting. They numb themselves with routines, diversions, and even superficial relationships. However, you are the source of light. And darkness is shown wherever there is light. Your energy stirred the parts of them that they were trying so hard to ignore, but you didn't try to fix them. In your presence, the trauma, the fear, the insecurity, and the guilt all surfaced. And some of them blamed you for it rather than expressing gratitude. For many selected ones, there's the puzzling aspect. You ponder the reasons for their coldness, aggression, abandonment, or betrayal. But I only loved them, you thought. You did, too. But truth was in your love. And when someone clings to lies, the truth stings. They weren't hurt by you. The wounds that were already there were just made visible by your presence. It's possible that they said you were too emotional, too intense, or too much. However, the true meaning was that you're too real. You witnessed too much. You set off feelings they weren't prepared to deal with. They weren't prepared to pursue the desires you awoke in them. You made them think of the person they were trying to hide. Their ego wasn't ready to deal with the fact that you made their suffering seem less severe. Many opted for the easier route rather of living with their agony and using it to grow. You were the target of their agony projection. Because it was simpler than confronting their own mirror, they made you the antagonist in their tale. But even now, in the depths of their loneliness, their spirit is aware of the reality. They are aware that you weren't at fault. They are aware that you were never too much. It has to do with their lack of readiness for someone like you. This is where the spiritual significance of it all lies. You didn't make a mistake in your relationship with them. It was an encounter with God. Love wasn't the only reason you were there. You were dispatched to bring something buried to life. The catalyst was you. The fantasy they had created about themselves was shattered by you. And before they receive gratitude, catalysts are occasionally crucified. They were frightened by your light because it demanded progress. It drew them into consciousness and out of survival mode. The aspect of them that was still linked to suffering was threatened when you demonstrated what healing could look like. They were accustomed to disorder. You brought tranquility. They were accustomed to playing games. You were sincere. They were accustomed to avoiding things. You introduced conflict in the most revered manner. This is the reason they can't forget you, even if they've moved away or caused you pain. Because they would forget what they saw in themselves when you were around if they forgot you. Burying a portion of their awakening would be necessary. They are unable to. They are not able to run far enough. There is more to the memory of you than romance. It has to do with their metamorphosis. And that type of bond is unshakable, eternal, and spiritual. Some of them may return even after you've parted ways, not because they're ready to love you more, but rather because they're pulled to the light once more. Have discernment. Being a revolving door for broken souls who won't put in the effort is not why you're here. Your vitality is sacred. Others will gradually change since the seed you sowed didn't die, but your love isn't a temporary solution to their spiritual indolence. It went underground. It struggled with their refusal to believe. Silently, it bloomed. And even now, years later, they are still going back to the first time they met you for their recovery. You were the spark, whether they admit it or not. Therefore, keep in mind that it's not just about who you were to them when you're wondering why they can't go on. It has to do with what you woke up within of them. The bits of them that were asleep you cracked open. Their spirit is grateful to you since that awakening is still happening, even if they first loathed you for it. Recognize the power you possess, chosen one. You are more than a passing fad. You are a holy flame. You light up. You change. Illusions are destroyed by you. And the heat of that is too much for some people. However, the warmth will always be remembered by those who have tasted it. Every touch, every embrace, every connection, they will pursue it. They won't locate it again, though. Not as if they discovered it in you. For you were more than a chapter. The story's shift was you. When everything changed, it was you. And an influence like that endures forever. The selected one's magnetic pull. People simply can't get enough of you, chosen one, for whatever reason. Your appearance isn't the point. What you say isn't important. There's more to it. Not seen, but felt. We are building a family of light, the first 1,000 souls. Be part of it, subscribe to Chosen Archangel, press like, and leave your word in the comments. People are drawn in by your enthusiasm. Similar to a current in motionless water. There's no need to chase. You don't need to persuade. People are drawn to you just by your presence. And those who have loved you are well aware of this pull. As soon as they met you, they sensed it. And even after you're gone, they continue to feel it. From the start, you were captivating. There was no effort involved in that relationship. It happened instantly. They seemed to have been waiting for you, almost like fate. And it left an impression on them once they tasted your vitality. You merged with their inner cadence. Their dreams, their ideas, and that frequency continued to vibrate inside them long after they left where you did. Spiritual magnetism is what this is. Manipulation is not what it is. It's not a form of attachment. It's alignment. You possess a rare, sacred, and ancient energy. They are still attracted to you because of this. For this reason, they continue to look through your social media. They still recall your laugh, your perfume, and the sensation of being in your presence because of this. You weren't only a part of their existence. You made a spiritual impression. The thing that most people overlook is this. They couldn't replace your frequency, even if they tried. Your soul cannot be duplicated by them. They might be surrounded by unfamiliar voices, faces, and textures. However, they are still haunted by your spirit. Not in an unpleasant way, but in a way that serves as a reminder that something sacred and genuine previously existed in their lives before they lost it. Many of them are still in shock at what transpired. They believe it to be merely memory and nostalgia. Their spirit, however, knows it's more than that. They sense the vitality that still connects them to you. And because you weren't simply another connection, they stay linked whether they realize it or not. You served as a pillar of faith. And it's difficult to break that kind of relationship. It's possible that some of you are also experiencing this pull. You think about them when you wake up. You randomly feel their energy. You have irrational dreams about them. And it's no accident. It's a recognition of the soul. Their unresolved feelings, their desires, their thoughts. In the spirit world, they're aiming for you. Before words, energy travels. And their soul continues to cling to yours. Please leave a remark below if you have recently sensed that, if your spirit has been able to catch up on those subtle echoes. You're not alone in this, so please let me know if this speaks to you. You have a magnetic pull that goes beyond simple attraction. It has to do with being in harmony with the divine. When others are with you, they feel more connected to themselves. They experience inspiration, life, and awakening. They start to realize how empty everything else feels when something is taken away, even if they were the ones who left. Without your color, the world seems so drab. You may believe that they have forgotten and moved on. However, don't let appearances deceive you. In actuality, people continue to sing tunes that make them think of you. You used to walk the streets together. In little moments that, like a whisper from the past, let you regain concentration. Even if they don't say it aloud, your name is still alive in their soul. They occasionally attempt to recreate their relationship with you. They imitate your vitality. They look for people who share your appearance, speech patterns, and sense of humor. But since it was never just what you did, it's never the same. You are who you are. It was the serenity in your pandemonium, the fire in your spirit, and the purity of your love. Your essence is unique, making you irreplaceable. Energy doesn't lie, so even their attempts to numb the connection and act as though you never cared failed. Furthermore, spiritual memory cannot be willfully obliterated. Whether or not the link is recognized, it still exists. Don't undervalue the strength of your energy, chosen one. The light of God is in you. In this world, that brightness is uncommon. Someone doesn't simply miss you when they lose that. They long for the person they were while they were with you. Everything else seems uninteresting in comparison to the sense of safety, visibility, and aliveness you gave them. You have the kind of soul that changes everyone you come into contact with, which is why you are unforgettable, not because you want it to be. You leave them in a better state than when you arrived. They profited from your brightness even when they weren't deserving of it. They now feel the absence so strongly because of this. So keep this in mind if you ever doubt your value. They remembered you. They are unable to. You were the pivotal moment, the change, the once-in-a-lifetime, heartfelt experience. You were the presence that revealed, the mirror that reflected truth, and the love that awoke. And you continue to be their spirit's loudest echo, even when they are silent. This is what makes a chosen one appealing. unchangeable, timeless, and sacred. The cosmic agreement among spirits. Selected 1. Not everyone you cared for was merely a new chapter in your life. Soul contracts were among them. Some were karmic contracts that were drafted long before you were even born. You weren't just thrown into those relationships. The divine brought you together, spirit pulled you together, and a power bigger than you both led you. And for that reason, those ties felt heavier, deeper, and different. They carried a burden that still aches in your soul, even if they were brief or painful. You meet certain spirits and feel as though you've known them for ages. That isn't creative. That's acknowledgement. The soul is remembering things that the mind is unable to. These are folks you've danced with in past lives. You have previously built, broken apart, cried, and laughed with them. And it was intended for you to cross paths once more during this lifetime, not for solace, but for change. Karmic were some of those former lovers. They entered your life to challenge you, teach you something, or set off a chain reaction. They stretched your boundaries, reflected your wounds, and revealed what needed to be healed. Although these connections weren't always healthy, they served a purpose and were unpleasant but necessary. And when they were over, you had gained enlightenment along with spiritual wounds. They helped you grow. They're the reason you woke up. Some were soulmates. Soulmates aren't always destined to be together. Before life pushes you in different directions, certain people come to remind you of your value and to give you a glimpse of sacred love. Their timing was off, but their love was genuine. Even though they are no longer with you, the link endures in synchronicity, dreams, and that elusive sense you still get when you think of their name. False twins are another issue. They may seem like the one, yet they are the ones that ultimately tear you apart. The most difficult to forget are these. They rocked your foundation, not because they were the best. There was a reason you were spiritually tied to them. Because separating was like severing your own soul. However, even these had a greater function. They got you ready for something bigger. Your spirit was purified by them. Selected 1. Because they can't, your ex-partners didn't forget you. Their divine curriculum included you. When their souls met their reflection, it was you. You were teaching them more than simply how to love. You were exposing their true selves. It's impossible for them to remove that. Their illusions were destroyed by the fire that was you. The river that washed away their suffering. They had to rebuild because of the hurricane. There is still that energetic connection. Some of them sense it but don't grasp it. Others deny it out of bewilderment, remorse, or humiliation, even if they are completely aware of it. In any case, the connection endures. Because the contract is sealed when a selected one enters a person's life. And the lesson never ends, no matter how much time goes by or how far you stray. You can wake up with their energy still present in your dreams, or you might still sense them at quiet times. This is due to the fact that the contract is still in effect. And the soul remembers whether you speak again during this lifetime or not. We haven't forgotten the lesson. For some of them, your presence was their activation. Something old within them was awakened by you. Something divine. And now their spirit bears the proof, even if they attempt to live as though you never existed. After you, they were never the same. They are aware of it. The decisions they made, the things they said, and the ways they wounded you still haunt some of them. Because injuring you wasn't just a mistake. It was a transgression of spirituality. Their spirit is aware of it. Peace has become difficult for them as a result. You cannot expect to feel complete if you break a heavenly link. Their spirit now yearns for what they lost after they exchanged the sacred for the familiar, the truth for solace, and the depth for security. However, don't mistake their attraction for fate. You don't have to walk with every soul you meet for the rest of your life. Some were simply a part of your rise. They shaped who you are now. They can't match your vibration now that you've risen. Releasing these contracts does not imply that they were pointless. It signifies they've served their purpose. Therefore, forgive them for your own peace of mind, not for them. Lovefully let them go. Trim any cables that aren't supporting your development. Additionally, realize that your energy is sacred. It is not intended to be recycled by people who are unable to recognize its worth. You did what you were supposed to do for them. You arrived. You were in love. They caught a glimpse of the divine from you. And now, with or without you, their path goes on. However, the stamp of your connection will always be present in their soul. More than a lesson, you accomplished a soul contract. They continue to fantasize about you because of this. They still sense you because of this. They therefore question whether they will ever find something as real again during times when they don't talk about it with anyone. In actuality, they won't. Considering that the divine sent you. You were selected. Furthermore, once coming upon a selected one, nothing is ever the same. Safeguarding your energy following a separation. Selected one. It's time to safeguard what is precious now that you realize how profound your influence is. Because this is the reality. The energetic bonds are not lost just because a relationship terminated. Love is energy, and just because individuals part ways doesn't mean that energy goes away. Whether intentionally or unconsciously, your former loves might still be referencing your field. They may still be energetically bonded, still lingering in your environment. Additionally, such connections have the ability to drain your power without you even being aware of it if you don't purge yourself of them. You must protect your energy as if it were your life. Since it does. Not everyone should have access to your energy, especially those who have mismanaged it in the past. Energy is your money, your power, and your light. There is a divine reason why you were placed in their lives. Yes, but you're not a self-appointed emotional healer. Your soul is not a convenience. You are not an uncommitted person's spiritual rehabilitation facility. It's important to cut the cords after separation. Not only in a physical, spiritual, emotional, or energetic sense, as some of them continue to feed on your essence. They might not get in touch. Even though they might not say your name, they nonetheless think about you frequently, regretfully, and yearningly. And each time, a piece of that energy wants to get in touch with you. Particularly if you're still available. You can be experiencing unrelated fatigue, emotional exhaustion, and spiritual fog. Your energy isn't usually like that. We are on the way to 1,000 subscribers, and your action makes the difference. Subscribe, like, and comment to amplify the mission of Chosen Archangel. Sometimes it's theirs, their hunger, their pain, their regret. Additionally, you will absorb it and begin to carry feelings that aren't even yours if you lack spiritual discipline. You must clean the one you have chosen. Sit in silence. Say a prayer. Engage in meditation. Burn your sage and your incense. Tell the truth aloud. Release them to the universe after saying their name. With authority, not with resentment. Your history is not a gateway to the present. It's okay to love someone and still end the relationship. You can care and still completely ignore it. It's not merely a routine to practice spiritual cleanliness. It's essential. Wash your body. Make your area clean. Clear your head. Keep an eye on the music you enjoy, the memories you relive, and the fantasies you indulge. You keep the cord alive if you replay their energy too frequently. They no longer deserve the access you're giving them. Cutting the cord does not imply that you lose sight of love. It indicates that the loop is closed. You break the cycle. Your sovereignty is restored. You regain your clarity, your light, your peace, and what is rightfully yours. And they have to come back as a reborn person if they ever wish to acquire access again. Not someone holding on to a memory, but someone who has matured, recovered, and changed. You're not resentful, selected one. You're smarter. You possess a spiritual intelligence. You know that although love is sacred, so is your health. Additionally, some people aren't supposed to stay in your line of work. Before the next chapter can start, some connections need to be broken altogether. You cannot expect your wings to soar while you are still burdened by the past. Spiritually releasing someone benefits more than just you. It benefits them. It enables them to stand independently, develop without relying on your strength, and confront themselves without concealing themselves behind your affection. By remaining open, you're not assisting them. Their spiritual delay is being enabled by you. Let them go completely. Recognize their contribution to your life. Because the next version of yourself, the one assuming their full potential, has no room for energy leftovers or unhealed attachments. Bless the connection and leave with strength. Now you're getting up. You are entering a frequency that requires complete alignment, clarity, and presence. And you have to let go of everything that is still connected to your past. Your energy is a temple, chosen one. Think about it as one. Not everyone is permitted entry. You don't hand out keys to those who have broken windows in the past. You defend the sacred. You respect the divine. By doing this, you create room for the sort of love that builds rather than takes. The sort that nurtures rather than wounds. The kind that expands rather than drains. So, cut the cord now. If you have to, say it out loud. Inform the cosmos. I let go of things that no longer benefit me. I reclaim all of my power. I am complete. I'm free. Because you are, and always have been, I am sovereign. It's time to step into it now. Choose a lesson that the divine wants you to learn. Your life hasn't been random at all. Not the love, not the heartache, not even the quiet, the sorrow, the perplexity. Divine ink was used to write every relationship, lesson, and conclusion. You were placed here to evolve through love, not just to experience it like everyone else. Your questions, your longings, and your tears are never wasted by the divine. Every connection served as a teacher. Every breakup served as an initiation. Every parting was a holy step on your path to glory. Like everyone else, you were never intended to love. The purpose of your love was to awaken, ignite, and transform. That explains why your romantic path has been so intense and occasionally perplexing. You were undergoing training, purification, and refinement. Giving you lovers wasn't the only high. He was handing you chisels and fire and mirrors. Love is what shaped you. Broken open to allow for expansion. In order to bleed wisdom, cut. The divine wants you to realize that nothing was lost. You gained knowledge. You became spiritually sighted. You developed emotional fluency. You developed your ability to sense energy, follow your gut, and identify when someone isn't prepared for the frequency you carry. You learned that a person isn't necessarily intended to be with you just because they touch your spirit. By taking it away from you initially, some souls were merely there to remind you of your own strength. That quiet, that distance, that betrayal. It wasn't a penalty. Alignment was the cause. What might have diverted you from your goal was taken away by God. Because sharing your future with someone who doesn't respect your light is too sacred. It was the cause of the agony. This is the reason the separation was so important. You weren't being punished, you were being protected. Here you are now, deeper, stronger, and wiser. You've shed tears. You have asked, indeed. But now look at you. You've changed from the person you were before you met them. You've changed because of the fire. Your heartbreak has made you sacred. You've developed greater awareness, alignment, and spiritual sensitivity. That was always the divine plan. To mold you into the ideal vessel, not to provide you with the ideal mate. Love is sacred. It's also the lesson. And now you are being reminded by the divine. Being selected by them was never a measure of your value. You are valuable because he picked you. Who left, who harmed, or who forgot does not define you. Who you became as a result of everything defines you. You got up and you got better. Even though your heart was bleeding, you didn't close it. That is the power of God. You needed to learn how to set limits. You had to become patient. You had to figure out when to leave and when to stay. Above all, you had to realize that you don't need to plead for your love. It must be respected, safeguarded, and given back. The divine wants you to remember that lesson well because you will love from a place of wholeness rather than need in the future. If someone asks for your energy, you won't give it away. Those who can develop with it, hold it, and give back will receive it from you. Each time you showed love, you triggered the development of another person. It's your time now. You are now being called inward by the divine to love yourself in a way that no one else could. To understand that being known by the divine, not by them, is what makes you valuable. Pursuing love is not why you were sent on this planet. You were sent to embody a higher frequency, to be love. And that love will come back to you in divine time after it has been properly comprehended and cherished. Aligned, true, and complete, not coerced or fabricated. So, keep your head up. Allow the past to remain as it was, sacred, transformative, and transient. Allow the lessons to become deeply ingrained in you. Now let wisdom to beat in your heart. Because what you lost pales in comparison to what the Almighty has in store for you in the future. You had to be emptied first, though. You needed to be prepared. It was necessary to remind you of your true self. You're not damaged. You've been woken. You're not by yourself. You are led. We don't forget you. The source of all creation remembers you. And all of your experiences were meant to help you become more like your divine nature. This is your ascent, selected one. Proceed with knowledge. Chosen one, remember this, heaven never sends a word without purpose. If this message has stirred your spirit, let it shine brighter. Press like so the light spreads to others walking in darkness. Subscribe to Chosen Archangel so you never miss the next divine revelation. And share your thoughts in the comments below. Your testimony may be the very spark that awakens another soul. Until we meet again, stay covered by the wings of heaven and walk boldly in your calling.